All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome
Yes.
to the first episode. Well, I don't know. This one's a little bit different. I'm calling it
Spin-off.
Skull Session. Basically, we're getting our heads together, just talking about different Star Wars things. Obviously, today it's Book of Boba Fett, but yeah, just wanted to put our heads together and see what comes out. Have a nice discussion. So.
Totally.
Um, so, Pilgrim, we were talking about it before a little bit, but how about just your general thoughts on the show and, not too much detail, but just a little bit about what you thought, like initial
So
reaction.
I I would starting off like I would give this show probably a 6.5 or 7 out of 10. I didn't hate it. I really didn't.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I looked forward to every week. But it was by the time a few of the weird things started happening, and then you got the all Mando episode. I'm just like, what are they trying to do here? Like, what's going on?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
I was barely like I like the fact that the Pike Syndicate was like the big bads of the season, but at the same time, like they didn't give me, you know, so much to be invested in is why I should hate them as much. I mean, yeah, they slaughtered his Tuscan family, but it was just there were some things that were just off the wall for me, and like I was telling you earlier, I never saw Boba Fett as like a number one guy. The fact that he returned and he's trying to run a crime syndicate now, I would have never guessed that 10 years ago. And I'm all for a
Yeah,
character.
for sure.
Yeah, I'm all
Right.
for character development and everything, but like I like character development with a purpose instead of character development for the sake of character development.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I totally agree because, like, I don't know. It just seems like they wanted to bring him in ever since season one of Mando, and then finally, like he's hinted at, but we never see him. And then season two of Mando, he finally shows up, makes an appearance. He's like totally badass, but then like they sort of don't know what to do with him. I mean, like I think they had an idea at the time, but obviously this execution just showed that maybe they weren't 100% sure, they weren't sold, or I don't know, something quite didn't click all the way. It was, I think all the pieces were there, but something, the puzzle didn't fit together quite well enough. I don't think. That's just my opinion, though. How about you, Live Long?
I'm very similar to you guys. And it's funny you mentioned that because I feel like it is almost like a test market for fans to see what we like. It's like,
Oh,
will they respond to this? Will they respond to that? And today, before coming on, I looked on, Wikipedia about the show, and there's a chart that shows, and you might find it, fan reaction per episode. And I'm like, yep, I am right there with that chart. I'm like, wow, it's like they read my mind. So I don't know if it's bizarre because it's all written by John Favreau, I believe, wrote
Yeah.
like every. And
yeah.
unlike when we reviewed the Bad Batch, there was a
Hmm.
different writer and different director every episode. But I'm thinking, oh, good, one person writes it all, and still we're getting this inconsistency, and not only just tone, story, cinematography, not only just direction, but just like editing. There's so many different bizarre choices that were made. I mean, I really want to like it, but and like you, Pilgrim, I was never a huge Boba Fett fan. But I really felt like they did give his arc to Din Djarin and
Yeah.
Mandalorian, and I was like, okay, what else to do with him? Let's just have him be a crime lord,
Yeah.
whatever that means. In
Yeah.
you know 7 Disney Plus show. So
Yeah, you hit the
yeah.
nail on the head. It's like they gave his arc to Din Djarin, and it's like, oh crap, what do we do with him? It's like scraping the bottom of the casserole dish, like trying to get the last piece. It's like, all right, what are we doing? What have we got left in the pipeline to throw at this guy?
That's a
And
good
they're like,
line there, actually.
crime ball.
The bottom of the casserole dish. Yeah, I mean, like because they were trying to put this together. I mean, like I said, they were clearly trying to set him up, and then they're setting up Ahsoka. I don't know where they're at with Rangers of the New Republic, if that's still a thing, but I kind of don't think so. But I thought maybe because people were saying like, oh, maybe Cobb Vanth can join that now or something. I'm like, okay, maybe, I don't know, but either way, like clearly, Mando season 2 is like a setup kind of to like a branching narrative, and then Boba Fett was one of them. But like, I don't know. I feel like there must have been. I've heard rumors of like production issues behind the scenes, like you have to I mean, just based on like the editing and stuff like that, like it kind of gives it some credence, you know what I mean? Like I know rumors a rumor, but like just watching it, like clearly there were some issues there, and it's unfortunate because I guess like you, I wasn't the biggest Boba Fett fan either. Like I thought he was cool, you know. I just think he's just, I guess I liked him as much as anybody else would like him. Like I thought he was a good like secondary villain kind of thing. But I guess I was more excited for Tem just because of his portrayal of Django. I thought Django was much more interesting, and some of the EU stuff with Django I thought was cool. Like the Bounty Hunter game was interesting, but so I liked it for Tamara Morrison. But yeah, I don't know, something. I don't know. It wasn't right. Like I said before, I don't know how else to really to say it.
And in the EU, because I'm part of that Jedi Praxium group, and they actually did a really good, intensive Mandalorian culture stream with the Mandalorian YouTube channel. And they're talking about Boba Fett's history in Legends books. And really, he was bad. Like he would scalp Wookiees. He would just do these horrible, awful things. But he also had a family. He became a teenage father when he was 16 and had a daughter who kind of, you know, had this love-hate relationship with him when she was older, like you would, because he had abandoned his family. And that was like his one chance to try to go like normie, try to have a good life. So I could see people might be mad if they don't know anything besides seeing him all stoic in the movies. Like, why would he's supposed to be this just, you had that feeling you had when you were a kid, like, oh, he's just so badass, just because we see him like almost his lack of doing anything was, and the way Vader treated him was how he interpreted how cool he was. But he has been shown that, and in like, I think it's Rebels or Clone Wars, where he was in those episodes, like he does have this pull toward like leading a better life or more balanced, or not just killing people. But he always had his code. He always had his Mandalorian code, which is more strict, and those things where it's like, yeah, I won't just kill people for no reason. Like he's not just a cold, he had to have a reason. If it wasn't profitable, if I mean, he killed someone once just because they kind of asked him to. He's like, fine, done. Like, so yeah, he has his code, and like all those traits I saw later on in the season in somebody else. So yeah.
Yeah, you can only push the whole crime lord syndicate thing on Disney Plus so far.
That's true too.
And, yeah. And this one, episode 1, interesting because, you know, he took over Bib Fortuna's, popped them, done. Like, okay, I don't know why, but okay, we're accepting this. So he takes over, but the thing is, he calls himself a crime lord and does zero crime really, besides just killing people. I'm like, but he also was like, you're gonna bow to me now. I'm the crime boss. I'm like, since when? What have you done besides just murdering people that makes you a crime boss? Because, you know, Jabba made his money off of spice that you seem to dislike. Not to say that drugs are good, not for drugs, but like, how exactly do you think Jabba got rich?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when I think of mobs, I think of like I just automatically think of drugs. I mean, like who wouldn't? Like So what are you gonna pay? I mean, so it's all protection money. I mean, what else? I don't know. It's it was a little bit bizarre. Like he didn't really have a plan as the mob boss,
Yeah.
or not that we saw anyway.
And I don't remember from the EU stuff, Liv, but you might know. Did Jabba deal with like sentient trafficking, like the sex trade and the like labor trade
Oh
and all that
yeah, he
stuff?
had slaves. Like we saw Leia in slave. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
in
yeah,
all the stuff. Like, and that was the thing I think that made the Huts really ruthless. And they're slugs. They obviously don't have a physical. I mean, it in the shows or the cartoons are shown to like run fast or like slither fast and kind of have a lot of weight behind them. But really, it was their intellect that got them to where they are over millennia, and good luck that made them the head of these criminal organizations where they really didn't have arms long enough to do anything or legs. And so I think we were so afraid of Jabba, and what they did is they did transference, and they did it with Snoke to Palpatine in the sequels, and they're doing it again, where Jabba was. We remember how we felt Jabba. Jabba was bad. Like, oh, we were afraid of Jabba. He's a crime lord. They took what we felt for Jabba, transferred it to Boba Fett without any rhyme or reason. So now we're supposed to feel like that to Boba Fett, that he is now the criminal, not really doing it or earning it, really.
Yeah, and then the thing about him, like he said in episode 7, like these are my people. So I don't know. It was just strange, like about Tatooine. Like I understand where he's coming from, why he's saying that, because like the Tuscans, his relationship with the Tuscans, like the first few episodes, but I don't know. It just seemed a little strange, and like, why would you to take over as daimyo, like, and feel a sense of ownership over this land, and these people are your people or whatever. I don't know. It was a little strange to me. Like I
yeah.
didn't feel like it was strong enough, like, connection emotionally, because I don't know. Tuscan Raiders are I don't know, like they're the natives, sure, but like everyone else kind of hates them. I mean, maybe it shouldn't be that way, but they can be violent if provoked, and they are more primitive. So I'm just like, you know that those two things don't connect for me. I don't know.
Yeah. I got that big time too with like, too bad Shmi wasn't a good fighter, because like she
Yeah.
was beaten to death, and like, oh, every time we've seen them, they've been beating people to death and stealing
Yeah,
stuff. I'm like, so we're sympathizing now, and I get not every tribe is. I mean, they imply not every tribe is like that, but we don't know that. They actually don't say anything like, you're different than the other Tuscans. Your tribe has this code of honor or whatnot. They just, like, all we know is them being violent kind of animals, that
yeah,
I thought just hated technology, and then the legends they do, but they kind of imply it in this indirectly by accident that they're just too stupid. Like,
Yeah.
he's trying to get him to ride. It's like a bantha, he's trying to get him to ride the speeder. If they're
Like a bantha,
if they're
yes.
concerned for their survival, they would have stolen those speeder bikes a long time ago. They attack people all the time. Like, okay, I need that to protect. They take guns. Like, I need that to protect my family. I will steal it from them because I'm murdering them anyway. Might as well take their speeder when I take their gun, and use it to, like, gun down the gun train later on in episode 2. It's kind of weird that they're just kind of inconsistent.
Yeah, there are so many weird moments. I just feel like it lacked like simple storytelling. Like there's no simplicity in it. Like the best Star Wars stories, like A New Hope, for example, they, Luke leaves Tatooine, they get aboard the Death Star, they save Princess Leia, they go back to Yavin, prepare for a big fight. It's a very simple story, and they told it really, really well. And uh, there was no need to make it complex. And I felt like they made the Book of Boba Fett a little bit more complex than it should have been, and maybe it kind of, I don't know, tangled it up in a bit of a web. and it brought a lot of confusion, just like you said. Like, why are these Tuskens good? Like, why is Boba trying to protect them? Why does he have so much love for them already? I would have had appreciation for them, but I don't know if I would have had love for them, especially after they tied me up and beat me like they did. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like out of the realm of possibility to make a story where we actually do care about the Tuscans and they sell it more and like we understand like their worldview. But the thing is, it's difficult. Like they don't really speak like any sort of language that we know. Like basically, Boba he was the translator. We like it was all like instinctual things, like, but they're not like we're not gonna get their like actual worldview or whatever. So I just think in a show like this, it's like difficult to convey that. So I'm not saying like it wasn't impossible, but it didn't make me feel like let's put it this way. I liked his arc with the Tuscans, but I didn't understand like so okay, I understand like he was connected to them and I get that. But I've like for him to hold on to them for so long after that happened and said like, these are my people, these are the people of Tatooine, and now I'm gonna rule over Mos Espa and whatever. Like I said before, it's just I don't know, something's a little bit missing. Like they needed to explain a little bit better, or make a better argument that like why these two things are connected. Basically, I don't know.
So, what were y'all's favorite moments, or a couple of your favorite moments?
Couple of favorite moments. Well, okay, this is a cop out because I like Thundercat, so I really like Thundercat being in there. Um, so I thought that was a cool moment. I don't know, Live Long. What do you think?
I
Favorite
mean,
moment for you?
what's frustrating, and I swear it just brings back sequel flashbacks, is for every cool moment, the next scene or the next episode starts out just erases it for me. Like
Yeah,
I actually liked the first two episodes, and it was kind of
me
like, oh,
too.
except for the nose lizard, that was dumb as oh my gosh, don't put things up your nose. Did you
Yeah,
learn that as a toddler? Did your dad tell you that on Camino? Shoot.
he was too cool
Um,
about it. He was like, "Oh, well,
yeah.
well."
And he was so apologetic. Oh, sorry, I think I swallowed it. Like, what? You want to marine? You didn't feel it
I
like
didn't
going
hate
here?
that. I thought it was interesting, but I get what
It
you're
was
saying
weird.
because I well, I guess what you're getting at though, it was a point of frustration, like because of like
Yeah.
the weird I don't know, dream sequence
Uh,
thing. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, that was weird, but getting back to what Pilgrim was saying, it's like, yeah, I do, but I liked after when he was like, okay, he's one of them now. He's dancing with them. It's like the tribe thing. And then the episode after that, they get murdered like that. They're just gone. And then, of course, going to episode 6, which is my favorite and probably everybody's favorite. It's like sky high on the chart, is when Luke comes back. And then I love that episode. That was my favorite thing I've seen Disney Star Wars do. Like
Wow.
literally. Yeah, like that they produced. I like that one so much because of how it breathed. It just sat there and was still for a moment and actually let you think about what was going on, and
It's
actually
true.
had those little nuances to it that wasn't just based on punching, gunfighting, or like insane visual effects or bizarre dialogue. I mean, some of the things look so like, okay, balance, we get it. Kind of repetitive, but I like the little moments in that one, which kind of harks back to the originals and the prequels, like these little subtleties that I think are missing a lot in Star Wars.
Yeah, I think we share a very similar moment as a favorite when he's dancing with the Tuscans.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I loved it. It was a very good little wholesome moment, and especially when they panned out to everybody dancing in the circle. I just love that. And then, like everybody else, I'll be the simp. Episode 6
Oh
was
yeah.
like seeing Luke I think that training sequence too, especially when he was running with Grogu on his back. I'll never forget where I was and what I was doing watching Empire Strikes Back and seeing him do all those cool flips with Yoda on his back. So to see that kind of replicated again was really cool. To see the flashback at the temple, it only makes me even more interested in Grogu. Like I still want to know who took him from the temple, where he's been. Like that's still a lot of stuff that has not been answered. And I was so afraid that they were going to say that it was Boba Fett who actually saved him. I was afraid of that.
Oh, wow. I didn't even
Oh,
Because
as
think
a
about
child. He would be like
yeah,
9 or 10.
he was probably 13. He was
Oh
10.
no, 13. Yeah.
Yeah. He could have. I mean, we never know where he was.
Mm.
And the fact that they showed that scene, I was like, oh, I wonder if like the tie-in here is going to be, you know, Boba Fett saved him. I mean,
Well, that would kind of make sense just to tie it in, but
I never quite
like it wouldn't
understood.
make sense for any other reason. But
Yeah, I never quite
but that would be
understood why he
interesting.
was so apt to help Din recover him in season 2 of Mandalorian. And I was like, oh no, that's why he wanted to help him so bad. It wasn't just loyalty; it was just he saved Grogu before. I was like, but I don't think they're going to go that route. There's no way.
No, I don't think so either. But it's interesting to think about.
Who do you think saved him, Luke?
So wait, do we think he got saved though? I'm not really sure. Like, cause he doesn't seem to remember. Like, obviously he is some sort of like, PTSD. Like, it was a traumatic event. So I'm wondering, like, were there more traumatic events to follow that? Because he was with. Who was he with in episode 1? Was it a group of like? It was basically a small gang thing, wasn't it? Wasn't he with like
He would
some
have been.
gangsters?
Yeah, he would have
Band
been
of
in the
elite,
Crush.
or
The
yeah,
Jedi had what they called the Crush before they moved on as a Padawan. So I know he had a caretaker, and people think it's him, but if you look back in like the holographic scenes that Obi-Wan used at the temple, you could see Anakin cutting that guy down, or fighting him. So that's not him because Anakin's not in that scene.
Oh,
But you do bring up a good. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's it. But you do bring up a good point that he might not have been rescued. Like we all think, oh, he's rescued, but you're right. He's in the Emperor's hand, so maybe I can't be a clone because the clones will kill on sight.
Yeah,
so it has to be not a clone because otherwise he'd be dead. Because I mean, they're programmed to just shoot them. Like it doesn't matter if they're infants or not. So it has to be either an officer that's not a clone or someone else in the Imperials, or someone that would turn him over to the Imperials, depending on when he went over.
That's something that I thought they were going to do with the Bad Batch too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought they were going to have, the Bad Batch do it, but that ship has sailed. So with that ship gone and the ish possibility of maybe Boba Fett doing it, like I'm run out of options now. I have no idea.
I think it's Jocasta Nu.
Yeah,
I think it's Jocasta Nu. I mean, though they retcon their own comics, they retcon the Vader comics where Vader's lightsaber was burned in the fire in the kiln to symbolize the galactic dominance of the Empire. Mm-hmm. But the instead of that, Luke presents his lightsaber to Grogu as a choice later.
Oh, you mean Yoda?
Jocasta Nu, Jocasta Nu has had a secret, like almost like a restricted section of a library that very few people were allowed access to, and was kind of hidden, like almost a hidden wall. So it wasn't obvious to the clones or people. And so and she had all the relics in there that they found later. And this is canon too. Yeah. This is like Disney created this.
Master and Apprentice.
So yeah.
Dooku Jedi Lost, I'm sorry.
Oh, Dooku Jedi Lost. Yep. So like, hey, maybe she, found them, or he's small enough to hide just about anywhere. And if they're not force sensitive, they're not going to sense them. So she could have found him and took him to her vault. And I know she got killed later on. I think by Vader when he went back to confront her or look for relics. But who knows? Maybe she sent him out with somebody she trusted, or
Interesting.
He eventually gets captured anyway, but at least he didn't get killed right away.
And I'm trying to think. There was another theory too. I just can't. I know I should remember her name, and I can't. She was the one. You know how I can't remember. I can't believe I can't remember her name. But Ahsoka commits all those crimes or whatever. But it was really this girl, the apprentice.
Toffee.
Yeah, Barris. I couldn't remember for saving my life. But if some people are saying it's Barris. Why it would be Barris? I don't know.
She should have still been
right.
public prison.
I don't know.
Yeah, she wasn't a Jedi at that point, so she would have. I don't know how she would have access to the temple. I mean, unless she's an Inquisitor, and that would be kind of an interesting angle. Yeah. That she's an Inquisitor and she's sent there as Disney created the Inquisitors. They got rid of like Starkiller and Mara Jade for the Inquisitors, and they like I could see them taking them, though they're kind of new at that point, and they probably would question their allegiance, especially if they just churned as Jedi. But they could send them over and actually go for Force sensitives because the clones don't have that ability. So they actually probably need to do a sweep of the temple to look for people that are hiding that are Force sensitive, because it's a big place. You could hide pretty well. So who knows? Maybe that's why they would send like Barris or the Inquisitors over there to look for him. And she probably found pity on him because he's so cute. Who could hurt him, right?
But when you were talking about the Inquisitors and stuff, it made me think of Fallen Order, and then I thought of interesting. I wonder. They might have even covered in the game. I don't know. Well, I don't know where Seer was or what Seer was doing at the time. So, just something that popped into my head.
I don't
know. As far as we know, right? She was like out, like looking for people, like looking
her and Trilla were out somewhere in the galaxy. I think they had younglings, but hey, I mean, where'd they get the younglings? So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they would even do something like that. Like if they're gonna leave like video games with video games, you know what I mean? Because like it seems like everybody keeps saying like, when are we going to see Cal Kestis in something? And I'm like, probably never. I don't know.
Well, they hinted him with a BD1 unit. It's like, if that's not Cal's BD1, I mean, what's the point of that? Because it's like, you bring in these references to tease us. Like, come on. I mean, the actor is old enough to do his own part, like live action. It's probably would be the easiest conversion they would ever have from a digital to a live action character. It'd be way easier than Ahsoka's been.
I thought they were doing that same thing, that same concept, like teasing and making these little false promises in season 1 of The Mandalorian with Ezra Bridger, because they kept showing love cats and stuff. And I thought that, the best person to leave Ezra or to leave Grogu with was somebody who really understood his attachments and someone who could really connect with him, soul to soul, like he does with all, creatures. I thought Ezra would have been a good choice. And like, that's so the same thing that we thought they were doing with Cal, I thought they were doing with Ezra back then. So
I really want to see Ezra. I'm assuming maybe Ahsoka show, or I think he is cast, right?
It's rumored. I don't know if it's for sure or not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's really all rumors, but
yeah, Space Aladdin.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
He really is.
And then let's see. Any other talking points? I mean, I know there's a lot we really haven't really covered.
So as far as the Mandalorian creed goes, did Boba really subscribe much to it in the EU? Because I don't know, it was weird that he went in and said, you don't really care about all that banta fodder, do you? While he has a mythosaur on his shoulder.
You see this in the Clone Wars. You see the Mandalorians are divided into different sects. And you have, I think, the true Mandalorians. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the names are weird, but it's like Bo-Katan is in one group. And then
Death Watch, I think, originally.
Yeah, and then or Mandalorian is in the like more extreme, like conservative group, I guess you could call it.
I
And
think
which was making me baffled because I swear I'm like, no one, there's like 3 of you left and no one could take off their helmet in your little club, and this is why no one's left.
That's a good point. Yeah,
Why is
I
this a
think
rule?
yeah, I think because they say, I think, didn't they say their sect is like the Watch or whatever?
Yeah.
So like
I
I
think they're
think
Death
it's
Watch.
right, yeah. I think it's like another split or something. So like you have all these, you have this schism with these groups anyway, and then like they keep breaking off from one another. So it's like we have all these different ideologies like of what it is to be Mandalorian. So like good luck getting all those people together. You know what I mean?
They really need to spend season 3 of The Mandalorian like really ironing that in, because I'm so confused of all these different Mandalorian, sects. I'm really confused as to uh who the children of the Watch were compared to Death Watch, because in the flashbacks from season 1, the people who saved Little Din had the Death Watch logo on their shoulders. So I mean, I'm still very confused, and I'm confused about how Duchess Satine was able to, convince them to even be a pacifist. I want them to dig more into that. Like, there's so much about their culture that I don't even understand, and I feel like that really needs to be, in concrete before, they go on any further. Because I don't really know what the use is for Din to even go back to Mandalore and, bathe in the waters or something.
It's gonna dig deep in it,
Yeah,
like a
that's a good
hole in the
point.
ground to find him.
I'm surprised. I
Because
didn't think
like
it would go that way. I didn't think he'd be willing to even do that, especially after he took his helmet off.
yeah, I just don't even like. Yeah, like you said, they have a lot of work to do basically with explaining where, like, where they like their worldview, how they see things in each other, and yeah, like the history of the Mandalorians. Because actually, when you were talking about our favorite moments, I think episode 5 actually was some of my favorite stuff, just because you got a little bit of that backstory, like about I think the Night of 1,000 Tears, I think it was called, and
Yeah.
it's the Mandalorians just in general fascinate me, and I played KOTOR, and they fascinated me then, like just their culture and their outlook and everything, and yeah, they could have so many episodes just explaining like their very cultured history. Like there's just a lot there they could do, and I think they should do, just so we understand like what is really happening here, and
Yeah.
like what's Din, like where does Din fit into all this, where does Bo-Katan fit into this, Boba, is, or I guess Boba just, he's like, whatever, I'm Mandalorian blood and that's about it. Yeah, I guess, I don't know, I guess that's where he fits on the spectrum.
Yeah.
I
Or
know,
I'm
and
I'm
that's
the
weird
son of a
because
foundling, basically.
you got
Sorry,
blood.
go ahead.
I mean, it's weird because Boba's like I guess a Mandalorian by blood, perhaps, but I don't think no, he's not. His dad was adopted
Yeah,
after,
he
kind
was
of similar to Din Djarin, like his parents were killed, attacked, and he was taken by what's his name? But yeah, he was adopted into Jaster Moril. Is that who it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's who it is. So he was taken into like Mandalorian culture then. So he's like a second generation Mandalorian, and it's just like a creed.
Yeah.
So I don't know by blood, but I know Satine and that family ruled by blood. So it's like, and but you're right, Pilgrim, guys. Like we have to unite this, and like all our knowledge need to be on the same page. How does the dark saber came into this? Why exactly does he get to keep this saber and armor when he's not a Mandalorian anymore? You get kicked out. You get to keep your stuff and rule all of us, even though you're not one of us anymore.
Do y'all like Game of Thrones?
I did
I do.
until the end.
I didn't read any books. I only know the show.
I
So
only
I
know
read
the
the
show
books
too.
too.
But
Yeah, I read the
one
books
thing,
twice and then watched the show. I'm like, oh,
oh
dang.
no. So
one
you
thing I
even more
really
invested.
liked, one thing I really liked that they did was before any major family or any major house got into a conflict, they always made sure to like, build a framework explaining this house before that situation started. So for example, um, whenever before Marjorie Tyrell even entered the picture, before House Tyrell entered the picture, they would always have, they would always talk about how, Renly Baratheon, he's sided with House Tyrell, or House Tyrell has uh, sided with Renly Baratheon. And that's all we heard for like ever until we actually met Marjorie Tyrell and the Tyrells, and we learned, why they hated the Lannisters and everything before they actually met the Lannisters. So I kind of wish they would kind of, tie all this Mandalorian stuff up before they're moving forward with creating the new stuff, sort of, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
Completely.
Yeah, because like we don't know, there could be clans of different family. I know there's a lot of clans families within Mandalorian, so like there could be some that have been traditional allies, and then like we all hate Death Watch or whatever, or we're the real Mandalorians, as you
Mhm.
said, live long. Like they,
Yeah.
it's strange. They could all identify a different way, and we have no idea. So
And I do like that about that culture because it's one of those rare things in Star Wars that kind of mimics real life without being on the nose about it. Without like, here you go. This is like real life, like the Vespa gang of mods in Book of Boba Fett, which I thought was way too Earth. Like, everything about them was just off.
Yeah.
But so like that's something that could happen in real life is like people disagree with the way governments run and people fracture into things. And it shows you how a big warrior group, because you're like, why don't they just kick ass at the Mandalorians? If they
Yeah.
all have the abilities that we've seen Boba Fett have and Din Djarin have now, why couldn't they just come together and rally? But no, yeah, because they're fractured, they're splintered. And then we saw the bombing, which was actually a really good moment.
Good one.
Yeah, I like all these moments that make you have the feels, but I wish that they would all come together. And I think that's the part of it. It's like, feel, no story behind this to back it up. Another feel, no story. It's part of the roller coaster, I think, of the show.
And since you mentioned the mods, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. Did anybody catch that dude's spin move with his blaster in
yeah.
episode 7?
it was so it
They're
was so
holding
like pronounced and like
Yeah, they're holding
obnoxious.
Chrysanthemum up, and then he lets go of him, and then turns around, like does a spin move with his blaster unnecessarily, and shoots the guy down. And the whole time, the only thing that goes through my head, unprovoked, is I'll try spinning. That's a cool trick.
Wizard.
You should make it a meme.
Yeah.
Like if you
Oh,
edit
there's
that
so many
together or
memeable
something.
moments.
Yeah.
This
I
show has
saw
already
so
been
many.
memed to death.
Yeah,
Live
the
long.
Bantha
You know what
memes.
scene? Do
Like
you know what I'm
wow.
talking about? Did you? Yeah.
I think so. I remember the
No, but I
jackhammer
saw.
foot. The guy is the foot, and he's like it like shoots out or jackhammers into the speeder bike
Yeah.
pedal.
Uh,
They're the dumbest cybernetics ever. I don't think I've ever seen. Like, what do they do?
Which the characters could have been really cool, but I don't think they needed the
Yeah.
mods at all.
Mm-mm.
Just in my opinion.
No.
They could have been cool characters. They probably still will be cool characters. I just like the whole mod stuff. I think was, just another example of abandoning the simplistic storytelling.
And I swear, it's like they don't have their own story Bible, even though the same person wrote this. It's
Yeah.
bizarre because they were off for me. They were clearly in their mid-20s, roughly that age. And they were dressed very nice. They have these expensive, they're cheap knockoff looking ones, but it's like cybernetic parts that they actually paid, like in real life, you go to like a tattoo artist, pay like thousands of dollars to get good ink. But they're complaining they have no jobs yet. obviously the casino business is thriving.
Yeah.
There's a lot of disposable income on this planet, and they got water, they stole water, and they're whining about having to pay the guy back. I'm like, what? It just like off for me. It was like you're entitled kind of vibe, with these giant speeders that are brand new and didn't have a scratch in that paint. Those sandstorms are a thing on Tatooine. They
Yeah.
should have been sandblasted a long time ago.
Yeah.
And those stupid ass mirrors, like you have the two suns behind you, you're gonna go blind with those. I just see him running in the sunset, and the mirrors of the suns are behind him. Like, oh shit, I can't say. Like,
And no
How you not
sunglasses.
crashing every 2 seconds? Like,
Gosh, the mods, and now Cobb Vanth is one of them. So,
oh, that made me mad. I've never been so pissed at a post-credit scene ever. I'm like,
yes.
and it's like without his consent. I'm like, okay, I get Fennec Shan, that was dumb. Like she was gonna die, her stomach, okay, but it's like he had this evil look on his face, and he's like, you know, like gonna dig into him, and he's unconscious. It was creepy.
He just shot him it looked like he just shot him in his shoulder. I didn't think he was dead.
Is it gonna get a red robot arm now, like C-3PO?
Gosh,
like
the guy just needs like a sensu bean from Dragon Ball Z. You don't put him in a back to tank and modify him.
we obviously have a fully functional Bacta tube thing. Like, just stick him in that. Looks like it'll be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it did wonders on Boba, so.
Yeah, he was all like mangled from everything. Like, yeah.
You know, when I saw the Bacta tank, I was like, oh shit, he put Cad Bane in there. But
yeah, everyone thought, I'm like, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like a love-hate relationship, and that's the way he was too. That was very Boba Fett in character. It's like when everyone around you is bad, it's like how you treat each other is like frenemies almost. Like, you know, you're like shooting at each other and you're joking about it the next moment, because it's like that's kind of a fun evil banter between bad guys that are just raised like that. It's just like their normal state of being. It's like their family, you know, like Adam's family, you're all creepy. It's normal for them to all be creepy and weird. It's like that would have been kind of fun to explore.
Yeah.
Missed that opportunity.
I don't know. I think I didn't hate the mods. Like, I kind of did and I kind of didn't. Like, everything you guys said was valid, basically. Like, there's no way I know maybe they're shining their speeders every day, but I kind of doubt it. And I get like the mod, like the 50s and 60s actual mod culture in like Britain. I know these people would go to like great lengths to like have these great looking clothes, like customized clothes, I guess spending, you know, more than they could afford on it or whatever. Like, I get that, but like, this is all kind of cool, but like maybe put it in Coruscant or something. I don't know. Like, not here. I don't know. It just doesn't really fit.
Where they get their electricity from, I don't know.
Yeah.
And if you had a lick of money to get anything like that, why the hell would you put it in Tatooine? It's going to get ruined. It's nothing but sand. It's sand is terrible. If you have a car and you drive it through a desert, you know what happens to your car? Like, holy crap, you don't bring. And every time, if you look at like where have we seen people like the culture of Tatooine, it's like a couple sparse cities on this barren planet that had no animal life. Now they're everywhere underground apparently. But like you look at episode 1 and the pod race scene, you look at the stands and how are they dressed? No one is wearing anything close to that. There's some cool outfits though. I mean, but they're all like leather, like bantha leather, like hand woven cloth, things that make sense for that environment. Even if they were teenagers rebelling against their parents, they would still be limited by the materials they have on hand. And that's what throws me out, because I really like Star Wars. I think as Pilgrim is saying, it's almost like a cultural study. Like, it really is. It's like, ooh, what is this like? Or I think Luke, you're saying that earlier. It's like you want to know more about that. It's you once you learn about it, like in KOTOR, they were really good about that.
Yeah.
It's like you're exploring that environment and what does it mean to like put that skin on and live in it. And you really want to feel like you're there. And when you have those Vespa things, I think I saw on Luca, And they drove them faster than that speed chase, which was ridiculous. The editing in this thing is junk. Like, guys, they were going like 20 miles per hour and they looked like it. There was no fast cut scenes. I don't know if the cinematography or I think both of them, the editing and the cinematography, were just
the editing I could definitely notice for sure. I mean, and the shots too, for sure. Like in that chase scene, like you said, were garbage. But like I think the editing throughout, like I don't know, like editing is something I tend not to notice that much. Like if it's great editing, you could probably notice it. If it's like whatever, if it's like normal, then like you probably don't notice it. But if it's bad, like it sticks out like a sore thumb. And I think some stuff here really stuck out like in a bad way, very bad way. Like I remember episode 7. I'm gonna reference it a lot just because it's so fresh. But like Fennec, okay, she goes in, gets all these badass kills, like hangs the mayor, shoots all the shoots the pike leader, et cetera, and then she's shown like walking out or walking up these steps, and then it's, I don't know, just the way the way they cut it, where they cut it, it's just like I almost thought she was gonna go outside and do something or kill somebody else or something, but it's like, nope, that's it. Like quick cut and then on to the next thing. It's like, okay, whatever. I don't know. It was just bizarre to me.
Yeah, they had a lot of straight camera angles on this, and that's also the cinematographer's fault. There's not much to work with when it comes to these cut scenes. And like, it'd be cool to like have an up angle from the guy she's victimizing face, like looking at her, and she's looking at him and says a cool like line, like, you deserve this, and then you just see her face as she like lets him go and he falls to the ground. You hear that thump and then it fades. Like something like that, like the creativity to that, to like invoke emotion and kind of inference was gone. So it felt very much like a stage play where the camera's set up in this wide shot, and then things come in and out. And it's like, yeah, this is a play. Okay. It felt more of a play than an actual movie. I get it's a TV show and they're kind of limited, but you could definitely tell there was different directors or cinematographers or whatnot. They probably have their own crew. I didn't look up the staff that was working.
Different directions.
Yeah, that's like, okay. And very rushed too, especially the last episode. We could spend a whole hour talking on that last one.
Oh yeah.
The good and the bad and ugly, just like the Western.
Would y'all like to see a season 2?
Oh, not Boba Fett. Have it be called like Tatooine Tales or Tales from the Outer Rim. Stop promising us characters that you don't deliver.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I don't know. The story really has to be there because I don't think there is a good story where Boba does become a mob boss or whatever, but I think this wasn't it. So like it would truly have to deliver like on multiple fronts, and it would have to weave into what's already going on with Mando and other stuff. I mean, maybe it wouldn't. I don't know, but I almost think like at this point, why would they make it? Because it's kind of clear so far that it's very much tied to the Mandalorian show. So I don't know. I you never say never, but I don't know. It's not looking great.
It's weird. It's kind of like it's like spinning your wheels in mud. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't really get you anywhere. And I don't feel like this season 1 like accomplished anything other than they dealt the Pikes a blow. But the Pike Syndicate's huge. I mean, Obadiah is like a freaking machine. They're doing so much stuff in so many other places. Like they didn't really do anything to the Pike Syndicate. And I mean, it's not like, I mean, maybe Mos Espa is a clean city now, but I mean, for how much longer? I mean, power vacuums are vast, and it's going to take more than just defending Mos Espa to keep crime out of Tatooine. So I'm kind
Right.
of hoping that I hate to be one of those guys, but I love to see Crimson Dawn and maybe Black Sun and the Pikes maybe get back together and take Boba down. I just don't think I think Boba needs to be taken out of his role pretty quickly. He needs to get back to being, that blue collar, um, grizzled, come up from below underdog type character,
Yeah.
Yeah,
in a
for
way.
sure.
Yeah, because I never got the impression that he wanted to have an upper management job.
Oh yeah.
Like, let's go now. You got a payroll and like you want to. I'm gonna hire you and hire you. I'm like,
And then he
you're
admits
giving
as
up a
much
life of
at the end.
freedom for this.
Yeah. It's like having like a real badass mechanic for your company who can fix anything. All of a sudden just take the CEO position,
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's like they're walking around at the very end and they're like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this or whatever. I'm like, wait, what?
No shit.
We've been telling you that since the first scene. I'm like, why the hell would you do that? What do you want to really?
But,
Do you know
but
the
it's
responsibilities?
they got to do something because they brought Boba Fett back from the dead for one season of him ruling Mos Espa.
Well, I heard that they
Yeah,
did this to fill in because Tamora Morrison was available finally because he wasn't available before, and that's why the Din Djarin was created. The whole Mandalorian show was created. But now that they're filming season 3, I heard that they had production issues or they did something, and so they had to fill in parts of the story. So basically, what they did is they took the parts they needed to fill in and stuck it in the show. Like that would make sense because if you took out those episodes and just skipped to the 7th one, we could have just called Din Djarin. Djarin, he was like, "Hey, Din, can you help me out?" He's like, "Sure," because he did it for free anyway.
Yeah.
So he would just show up. We didn't need any of that. We didn't need. I mean, love Grogu, but it was so nice to see him like flourish away from Grogu for a bit.
Yeah.
Because Grogu's not going to grow anytime soon. He's still a baby. He can't even talk. Like, Luke can understand what he's saying, but no one else can unless you're a Jedi.
right.
It's nice to get away.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I thought that's somebody was saying too. I watched a video and I kind of agree with them to a degree. They were saying like, the whole thing, the whole thing at the end of Mandalorian season 2 was undone like so fast, And I'm like, we could have gone, at least half a season. I mean, this and like maybe half a season of Mando season 3 or something without Grogu in it. We could have, and then Din would have been able to develop a little bit more, and like we were saying before, like get some like Mandalorian stuff in there, like really get into the nitty gritty with their culture, and like have Din explore his place within that culture, and then
do his Jon Snow thing,
leave the and just
instead
leave
of babysitting the whole time.
Right, yeah, leave the Grogu stuff out of it for a while.
Yeah,
and,
not that I don't love him. He's a cool kid,
Yeah,
but I mean, Luke was insane sending him alone in that X-Wing. I'm like, what? That was the most bizarre shit ever. It was like, oh my gosh, like Jedi, like dumb when he threw the lightsaber at his shoulder. I'm like, what the? When Luke couldn't get dumber. Okay, so you'd send a toddler basically in your Ford across the country on automatic pilot, and he won't touch anything. We've seen him touch parts of that ship and like shut down stuff. He's got force powers. He can pull things out of oh my gosh. You just let that kid go across the galaxy by himself?
Luke just gave him a bunch of frogs or something to eat while on the journey, maybe.
And people are like excited that he might be in this. Like we could see Luke actually fighting. We also saw him stoke, which is cool. Maybe we could see him actually use those skills he did against the trees, against real people. I get that he wouldn't want to get involved because his priority is the Jedi Order and reestablishing that at this point. So he probably doesn't want in Tatooine, as a kind of a iffy place for him. Historically, not the best place for this guy. But it's like, okay, you could have brought him and said, and then heard what was going on and just admit that. And that would be cool to know that this is his priority. And say, man, Din Djarin, he really wants to be with you. He chooses you. Like that would have been kind of cool to see him actually present him with that kid. instead of like, was it Pelly?
Yeah.
What's her name? Like show up in that goofy, like Chinese pram thing
while they're running for their lives.
She has no like sense of what's going on at all. She's like, "What? There's a firefight? What? Maybe I should get out of
I
here."
actually
I'm like,
thought
"Girl, you
that
live
was
on this
funny.
planet."
Yeah, and I
It
thought
was
that
funny,
was funny.
stupid, but funny.
It was funny.
No, it was stupid. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there wasn't a better way to do this. Like I know it's played for laughs, but like like
Yeah.
maybe think about it for a second.
I know. I have mixed feelings about her. I like her. I think she's
I do like her too.
kind of a unique person,
Mhm.
which I really enjoy. I'm like, oh, you're not like anybody else I've seen. She's kind of got wit of Leia, and she's got mechanical skills of Anakin. She's got like pieces of other characters, but you're her own person, and she just she speaks all these languages. The droid. It was very cringy that she says she dated a Jawa.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, oh, gross. I don't want that visual. No, thank you.
But like I like that she's so quirky though. Like that's all part of the quirks basically. Like, that she would do something like that.
Can we get an
It's
older
funny.
lady? As an older lady, can we get an older lady in Star Wars that isn't creepy against like younger guys? Like
That's
Maz
fair.
Kanata's hitting on Chewie, like he's my boyfriend. Like,
Please no.
How old is Maz supposed to be? I have no idea.
She's
Actually.
1,000? Yeah.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. She's all hitting
Then
on
what's
guys.
what's Chewie? 200 or something?
Yeah, I guess they're closer in age than humans, but
Yeah.
still, it's like, I'm good with that trope. We can leave that trope alone. We don't need to have a bunch of cougar alien women going after other things. No, we're good. Yeah, that was kind of. Besides that, she was really funny. I mean, a good comic relief, I think.
Well,
I can see why people think she's annoying, but
something that was just really weird to me is if you're going to feature her in a couple of episodes, why did they do that like weird cameo thing at the beginning of the season, like where Boba was walking through Tatooine and then it pans off and shows her walking with her pit droids in the distance? You know what I'm talking about? Like, why would they even do that?
I saw that.
If they're going to feature her heavily at the end of the season, I don't know.
That is kind of bizarre. I didn't think about that because I remember seeing it. I was like, wait a minute, is that? And then like it moves on real quick or whatever. So I didn't really give it too much thought. And then obviously she shows up at the end or towards the end. So
This is
cool. It is cool. But I'm like, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know. Very interesting choice. A lot of interesting choices here.
Right. And you could tell, like, obviously an N1 Starfighter is cool. And what they did with it was really cool. I will buy it if I see it in the stores. It's really a cool looking ship and how they modded it. But honestly, why the heck would you think that's a good thing for a bounty hunter who needs to, like, live in his ship, eat in his ship, like, pee in his ship, get his bounties in there, freeze him in carbonite, like all that. I'm like, you're giving him a like 2-seater convertible and he needs a freaking RV like to haul all this stuff, and they're okay with that because, well, you know what's going to happen. He's going to give up bounty hunting and he's going to get Grogu and put him in that bubble. I the second I saw it, I'm like, yep, that's Grogu's seat. He's going to be like the Jetsons and have that little car with the bubble in the back the kids sit in.
So his bounty hunting days are over.
Right? Yep.
I mean, I guess.
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure. That was the last time we'll see him bounty. That was like his last hurrah.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
His last bounty hunt was absolutely demolishing someone with a dark saber.
Yeah.
In the worst way. Like, I felt so bad for that guy. Like, he threw him on a table and just threw everything he had into cutting this guy in two.
I was like, yes, finally violence. Like, not that I condone it, but it was really cool to see something that was actual weighted violence. Like, oh, and there was like one drop of blood that came from the head, like bag. I'm like, oh, they should, but it was so dark they could get away with it because, they can't have any blood in this show about crime bosses and drugs.
It's spice.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I think it looks like cinnamon. It's bizarre.
I don't want to get too far away from Boba Fett, but what'd y'all think about the other announcement that came following the season finale. The image for
Obi-Wan?
the next Obi-Wan show. Yeah.
Obi-Wan. I thought, was
I
this
mean-
real? It's hard to know.
Yeah, I actually I don't know, because a lot of people were saying that, like, so I expected it. I didn't actually see. All I saw was a poster. They have any statement on like episodes or anything like that?
There will be 6
Maybe-
episodes, all directed by
Okay.
Deborah Chow.
Okay.
Thank God, the same director. Hallelujah! Like, it's
Yeah,
about
And
time.
hopefully the
It's
same
first
writer
time.
too. Can we
Yeah,
have
Dave
It's the
same
first
writer
time they've
for it?
ever done
Yeah, I
this.
know
They've
he's writing it.
never done the same show with the same director and the same writer the entire time, which is like, it's obvious. Come on. Like,
Yeah.
let's do this. I'm excited
Didn't
because
we
it's May
learn this with the
25th is
sequel
the
trilogy?
anniversary.
Yes.
Yes!
Yes.
Right? Bad
gonna
things
be-
happen when you have different directors, people.
Yeah.
Like it felt like the sequels are just a game of tug of war. You know what I mean?
And you get that in small
Like-
scale in this show because even though it's the same writer, that bizarre, I'm like, okay, Jon Favreau, you wrote this, and the very first thing you show Boba Fett do is crawl out of the Sarlacc pit in his first like flashback, and in his armor. And later on, he's in Slave One to go find his armor inside the mouth of the Sarlacc. Does he not remember he crawled out of that thing with his armor on?
Yeah.
And the Jawas took it because we know, because that's what we see in Mandalorian season 2. We see,
Yeah.
Din Djarin getting the armor. So I'm like, was he just having a mental moment, or
I
it was
honestly
just
think so,
goofy.
but I don't know.
I'll
is
give it
goofy.
to him because not many people can bust their way out of a Sarlacc and then just get the way those Jawas just totally just, I don't know, beat him over the head with that gun.
Mhm.
That's enough to make you lose a week's worth of memories.
And I get
Yeah.
like, and I know it's weird because I think they were implying it was really devastating to him. He obviously had acid burns all over his body. He was suffering. I kind of wish they played that up a little bit more so we could actually feel the pain.
Yeah, me too.
I think it was implied more than felt. I think that's a lot of this show. Sometimes it's more implied than actually shown, or it's in dialogue instead of shown, which drives me insane. And they just kind of have this big monologue of what's going on instead of actually showing us, or taking the time to set it up, and instead of rushing it like that. We could have gotten probably 4 or 5 more episodes of this show if they slowed it down and actually took time to methodically go through these beats, and then we could really felt sorry for like Cobb Vanth, and we could have actually got more Cad Bane, and
Yeah.
like actually, because he was cool. I did like Cad Bane. I think how they adapted him from a cartoon was amazing. People
Yeah, he
complain his
looked
hat's
great,
not
I
big
thought.
enough. He was a cartoon. You tried
No,
making a
he was.
cartoon to a real person. That's
He lost.
hard.
He lost that
I
big
mean-
hat. He lost that
Yeah,
big
that's-
hat in one of the arcs and got the smaller one in the same episode. So
Oh yeah, that's true.
He's supposed to have that smaller hat.
And then look at like Count Dooku's face, like compared to like Christopher Lee's face in that show. I mean, like it's obvious it's a cartoon. Who really cares? Like I thought he looked great. Like his
Yeah.
design, and just the way he walks and everything like that. I thought that was great.
That was cool. And that was actually gave me chills. That was the only time this whole show I got chills. I'm like, oh, he's bad. Like
Yeah.
you felt, and even if you haven't seen him, I could see like, who the hell is this? You haven't seen Clone Wars? And I think they assume that people watch this show have seen everything. They've seen Bad Batch, they've seen all of the Clone Wars, they've seen Rebels, like they've obviously seen Mandalorian. Some people haven't though, and they're like, who is this blue guy? Is this Thrawn? We've heard about it. So I can see them be confused, but I think without that, he was menacing on his own.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that the combination, that was the only episode I think Filoni and Favreau wrote together. Everything else is just Favreau. I'm like, guys, we've seen what happens when one person writes and doesn't get feedback. Let's team this up. Let's get your team and actually write some good Star Wars and be consistent about it. It's possible, because that episode was pretty good.
Yeah. And
Yeah, it was great.
one of the things that makes a great Star Wars character is a silhouette, someone that you can recognize without them having to say or do anything.
Yeah.
And, seeing him in the hat, in the distance with his coat, tail blowing in the wind, you knew who it was immediately. If you knew, you knew, and you knew what was about to happen. So
Mhm.
that's what makes a great Star Wars character, in my opinion.
And very Western-esque.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that was so Western. And people were like, why doesn't
Yeah.
he just drive up there in his speeder? I'm like, well, probably because I could have shot the speeder or whatever we inferring. But it's like just that moment, the look, like you said, him walking over and that arc. Oh, it's like a beautiful moment. I think we are willing to let things slide, like little details like why he didn't ride up in a speeder if we get actual kind of character consistency and good writing. Um, uh, there's things I'm willing to let go. If I could just
Yeah.
get those things.
Yeah, the presentation, the spectacle
Mhm.
it was all there. It was great. But you were live long. You were saying before about basically um, like like putting like how do I want to say this like plot points like really putting them like sending them home like really keying in on them like there's a lot of things you were saying kind of like there's a lot of things that are implied and all that and like I just think that was such like that was really one of the weaknesses of this show like really they just needed to hone in on what they had established and like really key on things just in order to like I said really hit some plot points home because I don't know like why do I have to question like Boba's like motivations like at the very end I don't like it shouldn't be this way, you know what I mean? Like there's there's so many little things like that. It's like why did he do this? Why did they do that? Like it just shouldn't be basically.
Yeah, I watched
Made for a very frustrating show.
it was like I remember watching episode 4 specifically, the one I hated the most more than life, like with X-Wing, like on a live stream with him, and I'm like,
Okay.
it's freaking the 4th episode, and I have no idea what Boba Fett wants. Not a clue. What does he want? What does he have against spice? You think he'd like it because it would make him money as a crime lord? He'd be all over it. Like, what the? Why is he doing any of this? Why did he
Yeah.
kill Bib Fortuna in the first place? We still don't know. Why does he want to be at Jabba's palace? It's not like he has great memories of it and like wants to stay there like all day long. And why the Hutts are like slithering away like cowards? Like you think they would have taken that place over the first thing that happened to Jabba? They're a crime organization. They're still letting another organization take over their turf.
yeah.
They send in their goons and they shut that shit down. They're like, it's ours. We're locking
And
it up.
I mean, the Huts
And
and the
that's another
Pikes,
thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pilgrim.
the Huts and the Pikes have probably crossed paths more than once over the how many thousands of years their families have been in Rain. Why would they back down over Tatooine? They had the obvious claim. I mean, I just it's so strange
Yeah.
as to why they tucked tail and ran. It's cool to see Huts, by the way, but I mean, didn't
See,
make
that's
sense.
it. See, not here, because everything they said was stupid. Like, guys, you're ruining Huts for me. Like, oh, when she said, I think it was the one that said, like, war is bad for business.
No, it's not.
Are you serious? Exactly. War is amazing for business. That's the bad part of war. It's one of the
Yeah.
reasons we get war. Are you? Your whole freaking empire is based on fighting and taking over territory and
So
being
there
a bad person and gaining your wealth through bad things, which is why you're a criminal and you're a crime lord.
so does that mean like none of these people like none of these organizations have like are like arms dealers or anything or like I mean they
What do
have
they do
some of them
now?
have to be. Yeah. I mean
I
like
think they just
like
have bounty hunters. That's all I've seen. I haven't seen anybody else.
I mean,
it's stupid.
if all the galaxy deals in is spice, it's a pretty good galaxy to be in if that's all they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very bizarre.
It is bizarre. It's crazy.
And I get like Cobb Vance's get spice, like he was the sheriff. And I did like that character. I'm like, oh, very again slower, grounded him in. Like he is in charge. He doesn't want drugs in his neighborhood, We see that. Okay, we get that. We obviously know why.
Sure, yeah, easy to understand.
Yeah, easy to understand. Even when he kicked it over, you know,
Simple.
like, oh, he's serious about this. This is his thing, and they slowed that down. But we didn't get any of that development for Boba Fett. Like nothing. And it's just him talking or being talked to, or old man. I'm like, you shoot her now. She's called you an old man. Like Boba Fett would not have taken that crap from a really pale tween on a desert planet.
Pink Power Ranger.
As a pale person, I'm like, I would have been burned in 10 minutes in those two suns. And this chick says she lives on Tatooine her whole life, and she's as pale as I am. She'd be red. She'd be scolded. Like, I just can't believe it. Like, hire people that actually fit that environment, or you could stretch us a little bit, but we know they're rebellious, but show that in their actions and their character instead of just like what they look like. I'm kind of sick of like the spectacle part.
Yeah. When I saw her in the trailer, I thought she would be another bounty hunter.
Yeah, she could be bounty, like Aura Singh.
Me too.
Very Aura Singh like. Very Aura Singh. I got Aura Singh vibes when I saw just her photo. But not when she talked or anything else. And you guys noticed the weird, like the whiplash of the last episode, and the weird thing when they were fighting, that bizarre long fight where like the townie folks suddenly have this beef with the city folk. And they're like, you can't shoot. You're a townie. You're gonna shoot. Like, what? Like, you're a fight for your life. Are we gonna stop and argue about who shoot better? It was so dumb. I'm like, this is made up just so you could resolve it, or they have some invested interest, which we already know they do because they're fighting for their lives.
Yeah, like I don't hate that idea in general, but like in that moment, like you're essentially now you're just like doing the whole like Marvel quipping thing or whatever. Or like we need to say something witty right now, like during this action or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's kind of how.
What else is there to talk about? We've run out of ideas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do that trope where the city folk hate the country folk and vice versa. Even though they're all on this crappy, shitty planet, that the cities aren't even real cities.
That's my life. The city folk hating the country folk.
Yeah. Right? I'm like, so, yep, in the South. But still, it was so forced. I'm like, if they set that up, like, they can, when Mando goes and asks for a favor, which is great, they should have spent more time with this, talking with those people and say, you know, why would we do that? We're country people. We're not going to get involved in that city. Like, they did a little bit, but not nearly enough to explain the hatred that came out during that fight. I'm like, no, this is forced. Dumb.
Luke, I think
like that.
There you go. I thought you muted yourself.
Yeah, I was sorry, but I was just gonna say, like, yeah, I don't know. It's just yet another one of those things. Like, it's really hard to. It's like it's frustrating, basically, or it's like I don't know why like I don't know why is this the way it is, kind of thing to me in this show.
You have like, you could even do like almost like people have done with the sequel trilogy. You could just do a spewing of things that were just illogical that broke you out at the moment. Like especially in this last episode, I'm like, Boba Fett went and got the Rancor. He just left his fight for like an extended period of time to get this big animal that moves slowly. He could have went and got his ship with his wrist. Boop, boop. Ship comes, slave one. Sorry, not first break. Come get that damn ship and just blow them away with the ship. Like, what? Why did you need this animal to subject this animal to this King Kong like fight, which was cool.
Great visual.
I didn't say it was cool visually, but like when you think about it, you're like, why? Like, there's other choices that we've seen the character have options already that they should know about, that we know about because we've seen them have them before, that they don't choose when that's obviously the most logical path. And those things infuriate me because they just break me out. And like Chrysanthemum, you saw how he like the coolest looking Wookiee that totally did not feel like a Wookiee. He had the strength of a tall human. Like all his scenes were like weightless. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm like, get one of those like projector things like they did for the prequels that shoot them in the air and just like shoot people. Like he would throw them and you could see him like throw, and the camera would pan to those people flying like 12 feet in the air. But it's like he gets like cam down by like 6 Transoceans. I think dogpiling him. And I was doing the math. I'm like, okay, this is Star Wars math. How many Transoceans does it take to hold down a Wookiee? I think it's more than like 5.
He's modded too, right? He's got some kind of modification.
Yeah, he's got the knuckle busters, which worked once in a cool shoot 'em pow, that person falls back scene, and then they malfunction. And then when the Transoceans are on him, he's like, I can't turn my hands in, I guess. Like, he just gives up and lets them dogpile him.
I do remember seeing I was towards
Chewbacca with the handcuffs.
Yeah, it was like towards the end when he was getting like piled on. Like he had an arm free and then like the actor just like didn't do anything with it. I don't know if you remember seeing that, but like I'm like you could do something, like you could just like, give him a backhand, anything, like, but I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, but
he
then
flung his ass in the air doing that. Like it would have been easy for him to beast mode his way out of that.
And then,
the more they get cornered, the more they fight back. That's the whole point of Wookiees.
Right. And then that does happen, but we don't see it. You know what I mean? Because he manages to get his way back there, like, barely. He's clearly very hurt. He's getting shot at. I mean, he is
30
taking
times.
Yeah, he's a freaking tank, but like, the coolest moment with him we don't see. It's off screen, I guess.
Well, did you see his foot? Pilgrim, did you see that his foot? Like it was like the character took their own foot out of the costume, or the actor did, and it literally is twisted sideways. Look at it. He is running with his foot twisted sideways and limping like he got his, people get their legs shattered and they totally are disconnected from the rest of it looked like that. And then the next scene, he's running away with everybody down the street. Like nothing happened.
That's ridiculous.
It's dumb. After getting shot 30 times and not getting hurt.
Did you see the Aqualish hands?
The Aqualish what?
There's an Aqualish sniping and he had human hands.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, they forgot to put the guy's gloves on him. Like
gloves on. Oh,
I see. I didn't even notice these mistakes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wait till, and this is all watching it one time. Like things that stuck out. I'm like, oh, if I go back and watch a show, which I really don't want to do, except for the 6th episode, which I could watch over and over and pretend that that's it. Like, and then Grogu goes off with Luke and trains like he's supposed to, instead of this weird, like, almost going to be a Mary. I'm so afraid. I know we're excited to see Grogu, but I'm so afraid of what they're setting him up to be from this. It's like, okay, so he trained for 1 day with Luke Skywalker. This sounds familiar. And now he's got all this power and he could do all these things, which are often seen as bad. So I don't know if he's going to go dark.
Well,
but he obviously is a baby. He can't control his power yet.
There's another option. There is another option. Din Djarin could lose the Darksaber to, it doesn't matter, and then Grogu takes the Darksaber, becomes Mandalorian.
Oh,
I've heard that theory out there.
Oh yeah, with him in his little Beskar armor with the big sword that's like 3 times as long as he is.
Yeah, how would he even wield that? The Darksaber is not huge compared to like normal lightsabers, but like, come on now.
You would think you would need to be a Force user, and I know the armorer was saying you're fighting against it. You need to train with it, and like your heart's not it. We all know because he was distracted. He missed Grogu, but still, you think like lightsabers. You used to have to be able to turn on with the Force. In the new canon, they have buttons, which is dumb because Finn did have the Force, but anyone could like turn it on and use it. Before, it was actually a protection for people, which makes sense because we've seen them go through public transports, which Jedi would use all the time, and security, and what's this weapon? Just stick it in their face. Push a button. So it makes sense to have this security for Jedi and their weapons, that they would actually click something inside it, and it was such an easy thing for them, but something only they could do to protect the people from this weapon. But No, it's like that dark sabers. I don't know. It's heavy, I guess. The Sabine, right? And Rebels wielded it without a problem.
She
I
took
don't
some
know the rules
training
for that.
too, but I
She,
don't remember a lot of that. Pilgrim probably remembers better than me.
she wielded it very well. I mean, it was like
Mm.
it wasn't that hard for her to wield. It got heavier as she, started training with Kanan, and then it began to get lighter. But either way, she still wielded it with really good strength. I mean, not like she didn't struggle like Den did at all.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And Den's a strong guy. I mean, should be anyway. I mean, we've been presented with that more than once. So
Well, it's one of those things that, okay, it's a kind of a cool concept where the weapon's fighting back against the user. It's like
it is a cool
making
concept.
you learn your lesson. But it would be nice if it was consistent. Like, okay, yeah, but apply it consistent and show us what that means for that character. Just don't let it be this thing that will conveniently get them out of trouble later on. Oh, now I know it. Now I kick ass with it. Just have something that's a little more nuanced and in depth in that. I don't know. We'll
Yeah, I want to
see.
see him get some training with that. I'm sure we
Right.
will at some point, but that'll
Well,
be
we
cool.
also the Boba Fett. We're going to see him train with the Rancor.
Yeah,
Which I was looking forward to. At the end, I'm like, oh, this is going to end cool. He's going to tell that he trained with the Rancor. He's going to tell it to stop, calm it down at the end. But it was Grogu. I was like, oh, come on. Boba Fett should assert his alpha male dominance. The whole town is watching. This is the perfect time if you're the daimyo of this town to show that you are the alpha male. You could tell a Rancor what to do. Get him to stop charging. Like,
I
come
wonder
on.
if like Robert
Boba
Rodriguez
Fett.
or someone else, or I don't know if Rodriguez or Favreau or somebody they just wanted an excuse to do like the Godzilla / King Kong thing.
I think
I
that's
don't
what
know.
it is.
Yeah.
So obvious. Like you can look at the movie
Yeah.
that was tower. Even the tower is the same dome. It's like that same square building that's tall. I'm like, where is this happening in Tatooine? That they don't have
It's like
tall
this is
buildings
the Empire
like this.
State Building, right? Like
With the round dome on top, and he's like climb. Oh, I'm like I was expecting him to go like this with his little like claws.
yeah.
It was funny. It was like,
It,
oh,
it
that's
was funny,
obvious,
but I'm
but
like, it'd be
yeah.
nice. Like you said, it would have been nice if Boba actually had control over his own beast or whatever.
Yeah, because that's the whole
Oh
point
well.
of him
Yeah.
getting trained, of him getting the Rancor was for him to be the master of the Rancor, not just to ride it
Mhm.
one time for spectacle, just to actually show that he is like has one mind. And it's that depth I want anything for him to do, just in depth. And like,
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to be crime. I think he actually sucks at that. Like, let's just have him be, he obviously has an affinity for it and connecting with people or non-human people or creatures. Just have him go native, do it, just something that's do something
And
well, Boba Fett. Just do one thing well consistently. The fight was cool though at the end between him and Mando. I mean, that was neat. But again, there was no
I
death.
love that the whole
Yeah, it was
jetpack
cool.
thing and then back to back, and
it was great.
that was really cool. But I don't
He
know,
uses
like
his
ultimately,
weapons.
yeah, it was really neat. And then I don't know, but then the conclusion, like we said with the Rancor, and then him versus Cad Bane, it was cool, and it kind of went how I expected it to go because I mean, it's well established now that Cad Bane is like the quickest draw in the galaxy, so I get it. I think that's how it should go. But I also thought, like, okay, so Boba Fett overcomes that. He uses his gaffy stick, whatever. I thought like maybe there'd be some fight back from Cad Bane, but maybe he's kind of too old now. You know what I mean? Like would he uses like rocket shoes or whatever you call them, like, or to get out of there, or because he was always so creative. Like Cad Bane, he always had all these gadgets, like much like Boba and Django, and once he was down, he was just down, and that was it. Stabbed
Yeah,
him.
it's almost like Boba is the unfortunate victim of timing. Like whenever they did Clone Wars, when Cad Bane debuted at the end of season 1 and he was all about season 2, it's like
Mhm.
they wanted to use Boba for that, but Boba was an 11-year-old kid at the time. So they had to
Right.
create Cad Bane. And, then of course the whole Mandalorian thing, they couldn't use him then, so they created Din Djarin. And now what's left for Boba? Like there's no more casserole in the dish for Boba.
I
That's
love your
true.
Southern analogies with your casseroles and your ATVs in the mud. It's awesome. It's like it brings me back.
Right. You're welcome.
It's true. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. So many things.
So is there anything else that we haven't really covered? We haven't really talked about Fennec Shand much. Not that there's really much to say, but I actually you were saying about episode 4 you didn't like Live Long, but I did like the stuff with her in it. But maybe everything, I don't know. I actually don't remember a lot of that other than Thundercat and then her, and then they were going into Jabba's palace. But
and then the
I don't
mod
know.
chase that lasted forever.
Was that episode 4? Or was that 3?
Yeah, that was the mods. Was episode 4.
Oh,
I believe that was all mod. That's one reason I despise the episode. Was just all mod. And then they're telling Boba he's old and useless. And I'm like, guys, come on. It's kind of ridiculous. It's like when characters in this universe, since Disney took it over, when you're old or you're useless, and you have to automatically give what you got to somebody else. And apparently you don't have any wisdom or any attributes to contribute. It's like you have to be told what to do and what's going on because you don't know. Like Fennec tells Boba all the time. I get at the beginning because maybe she has more experience with Jabba's criminal organization than he does, but after that it was just redundant. I'm like, okay, you don't have to like tell him. It's like they're telling us indirectly. I get that, but we can kind of observe with their eyeballs and figure out what's going on by what you're showing us instead of you telling Boba Fett to tell us.
Yeah, she was very much the advisory role, like chief of staff or whatever. Like, but it was for a lot of the time. It was kind of just them and 2 Gamorreans, and a droid. Actually, the droid knew more than probably all of them. Like, this is what Jabba used to do, or whatever. So,
right. Oh, okay. Yeah, I like her. I mean, I don't get why though, because I know obviously Boba Fett saved her life for some unknown reason. We still don't know why. Really, I mean, compassion. I guess suddenly he's got compassion. But suddenly she owes him like a Wookiee life debt that she can't. Like, I'm like, don't you have your own thing to go do? I don't think this is paying very well. I'm not sure if you're getting a cut or what the contract was between the 2 of you.
I can't remember quite well, but in Mando season 1, she had done. They pitched her as she did a lot of assassinations for all the major crime syndicates, but now that the New Republic was in charge, like her work was cut down to like 0. Wasn't that like the story in season 1?
I honestly don't remember. I have to admit I'm a little ignorant on that.
Which I just remember her getting shot and making it stupid that they brought her back, but I was like, okay.
Yeah, I was a little surprised.
Had she not done a good performance and had the fans not taken to her so well, they probably would have just left her dead.
Well, I swear they do a poll. Okay, so someone dies, you get snuffed out. Ask the people, do you care? You think that's bad? Yeah, no, don't kill like Bane. I bet you Cad Bane isn't dead. I bet you money because people are going to be pissed off. Like if Maul could get cut in half, if Palpatine could throw down a shaft and exploded into particles, anyone could come back.
Yeah, that's true with Palpatine. Yeah, he got, not only did he fall down the shaft and then exploded, and then the whole Death Star explodes. Like I love watching the videos. I love watching the videos of like this guy is still alive, and then it shows the huge explosion. Like, okay, sure,
okay, that makes sense.
He's totally
it's like
alive.
A Voldemort thing. I don't know.
And
he
then
transferred his consciousness to another clone.
Yeah, and not only that, and then Rise of Skywalker. I mean, it's kind of like a small gripe, but like, a lot of the throne room is still intact, like kinda. You know what I mean? Like the whole like window part of it, and like the whole I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother argument. That's a whole nother tangent, really. But
And there's enough stuff in the Star Wars universe to make us be invested in and reminisce and enjoy without calling back these things that make zero sense. Like
yeah,
suddenly, like you said, pieces of the Death Star, like whole rooms of the Death Star were intact, even though we saw it into particles. We saw it disintegrate and fall into the Endor atmosphere in like little droplets. But whole rooms are intact apparently on Endor now.
And the
So
chair,
it's
was
like
the
the
throne still there too?
yes, and the chair was intact. Like, oh yeah, that oh yeah, and the door opened and it wasn't like jammed or crinkled up. It was like this electricity. It was like, are you? And it's right side up too. It's like didn't fall on its side and fall like. Oh my gosh! Like you play Jedi
that's
Fallen
bad.
Order, and that when you go on that Venator, that shit messed up. I'm like, yes, that's what it'd be. It would be sideways. It would be rusted. It would be all mangled up. That game felt more real than like a lot of these shows and movies. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
like
I didn't even think
yeah,
about the door being able to open.
Well,
it
that's true. That's a
does.
good point. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I'm like, guys, you could have taken aspects of that movie or all the other things and carry them into it, but make your own things. I'm good. I know you bought it. I want to see what you could really do with it with creativity, imagination,
Yeah.
without retconning what is still valid. Like everything we see in the movie should still work.
Yeah.
Like you had Mando season 2 end. This whole thing, Mando's arc for 2 seasons, has been to reunite this foundling with his people. That's his motivation. He was ripped from his parents at a young age. He knows what that feels like. It's a deep calling for him to get Grogu back to his people. It lasts for like a minute because Luke automatically like takes him back. I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah.
really? He trains for a day and then he's back. And I think, yeah, it's like, guys, you're even ruining your setups from your own stuff.
Right, right.
It's
That's what I
kind of
was getting
like
at before.
think
Yeah, it's very
creatively.
frustrating.
It is. And like we're fine sitting. What happened to TV where you would sit on something for a while or an idea? You don't have to resolve everything in half an hour like it's a Simpsons episode. Like honestly, we could hold on to that thought till next time, you know?
Like that's why I love the Clone Wars arcs, how they would just break their season up into different
Yes.
arcs.
This would have been better like an anthology like the Clone Wars. It would have been much better animated show.
Yeah.
Much better. They could have done stuff with Luke. That I think they were limited because of him, deep faking him. They could have done things like that much better. I think they could have called it something else. They could have had like Clone Wars was the Clone Wars, but there were, like you said, there was like the Umbara arc. There was all these arcs in it that were just delightful and focused on different characters. You're inevitably going to piss off a bunch of people who enjoy a character when you call a show Boba Fett, and then the best shows don't even have him in it.
Yeah,
Like
it's sad.
not even one word. It's heartbreaking for those people. I feel bad for them.
It's hard to really debate against it too,
Yeah,
It really
it's
is.
like, well, I got what I liked, but I'm sorry for you that you were a huge Boba Fett fan and you had all the collection figure, active things. Like you were so into him, you pretended you were him. You have a tattoo on your shoulder of Boba Fett, and then
There's a lot of people with Boba Fett tattoos out there,
Yes, there are.
And they're all calling him Beta Fett and stuff.
Yeah,
Which
and I can see why.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say something like that, but I get it. Like, if that's like your guy, I guess,
And bringing your own characters, people were like, bring an Omega. I'm like, I would have been fine if Omega was in and been like more of a, like his daughter in the EU. You got rid of that, so like bring her in and have her be kind of a a challenging force for Boba and challenging what he believes, and they're kind of antagonistic against each other, but they're all doing this for their good together, and they
Or
kind of
even
end up.
have Fennec mention her. Because,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Does
true.
he even know she exists at this point? I don't even know if
right.
she knows. She...
Probably not.
Fennec knows. Fennec tried to save her.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I don't
that's
think.
right. I
Yeah,
forgot about that.
I doubt that would have
Oh my
ever come up,
gosh.
but you never know. I mean,
And
And
hell,
she knew who she was.
if I would have met a clone of someone and say, "Hey, I've met a few of you before,"
so I don't know. Like,
You look awfully familiar.
is it well known like that he's just a clone of Django? I don't know. I guess.
well, in season 2, remember whenever they were trying to break into that Imperial
Oh,
facility, they said, "Well,
okay.
they might recognize my face or something."
No, that and then I think Bo-Katan makes a joke or somebody makes a
Yeah,
joke because they Bo-Katan and the I don't know the other Mandalorian woman's name,
Costco
but
Reeves.
yeah, she's badass, but like they were getting her and Boba were got in a fight. I think somebody did mention clone or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
You're good with
Bo-Katan.
names, Pilgrim.
Yeah, really. I
I'm just
I
That
don't
is your
remember
talent.
anybody.
I don't know. These names stick with me for some reason. I don't get it.
Yeah, most of them are pretty clever. There's some pretty good ones. Yeah, you're good at that. I'm like that dude, like whoever he was. I've
Yeah,
read about him,
exactly.
but
That's
yeah,
me too.
it's bizarre. I know even people are talking about these droids. I mean, they're pretty impressive. The scorpion ones, I think they have that name like Scorpius or something similar because they kind of look like scorpions. I'm like, well, at least we got a
Mhm.
unique looking droid. I mean, they kind of look like the pill bugs from episode 1, or the fighters. I'm like, where are the Jedi? We need them. They know how
Right.
to fight these guys that roll up into balls.
The
And
Droidicas.
yeah, the droidicas, the pill bugs, basic metal
Yeah.
pill bugs. Yeah, or if you're in the South, what potato bugs are they called? Pill bugs in the South.
Uh, the roly polies.
Oh, roly polies!
Roly
Yeah, my
polies.
grandma was from Louisiana. That's what she called them. Yeah, so like that. Like at least we got a unique droid.
Yeah.
Which is kind of again, it's cool. It looks cool. Does it mean anything?
No.
I was just
not-
surprised that shield was like so impenetrable compared to like the Clone Wars. They would roll like the grenades in or
Yeah.
whatever, or you could just walk through them or whatever. Like I'm surprised. I guess it made for more drama, but then you just see them like shooting at it endlessly. It's like, okay, this isn't gonna work, guys. Like,
Well, I
You're
think
not
the
wearing down those
size.
shields.
I think the size
yeah,
has something to do with it because like the droidicas are small, sort of. So like their shields are rotating at less of a velocity, so you can roll something slowly through the shield. But the larger something is, and the larger its shield generator is, the more faster its rotations are going to keep the shield up. So it's harder to get something going through it. So that's why he said
okay.
Yeah.
like his weapons didn't have enough velocity to get through it, or too much
I did
velocity.
like that fight. And yeah, I like how Mando says that too. Like our velocity weapons and our kinetic weapons, something like that, both aren't
Yeah.
working. So they tried different weapons. Like yes,
Mhm.
because that's logical. You guys have all
Right.
this arsenal. You would try everything in your arsenal to bring those down. And like good, yes, thank you. That makes sense.
But
Right,
I'm just
still,
not
surprised
so
like
much.
the
But
dark saber still didn't get through. Like I find that
mm-mm.
surprising.
the
I guess it's still an energy weapon technically.
those pulse grenades from Slave One could have definitely penetrated them, and they would have leveled the town. But hey,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, they could have just got that ship. I think it's so dumb that the one time he gets that ship is to fire what is it, sonic boom thing
yeah,
into the Sarlacc. Are you making sure that's aimed the right direction? Because we saw it like when it goes boom, it goes from like one side out, like trying to get Obi-Wan when he was chasing down Obi-Wan when Jango Fett was. Like those sonic things only go one way. Are you sure it's not faced up? I hope you're aiming that thing right, but it was like so unsatisfying because it didn't like collapse. I it would be cool if it was like showing like an earthquake or something, like the ground would shake and like
Yeah.
suddenly this the big sinkhole would happen.
Mhm.
Like that would have been something you would see, but it just like, well, that was
I was a little
not,
perturbed too, actually, now that you mention it.
from a Sonic thing. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think the
interesting.
show suffered from a lack of budget, but all these grandiose ideas or things that should have been grandiose. And like, I don't think
Maybe.
because like you think of the throne room, like we saw at the end of Mando's, the preview for this was him going and shooting Bib Fortuna. I don't think we see any more of Jabba's palace. Maybe the table where they eat lunch, and the kitchen.
Well,
A
they
little
definitely
bit.
are. They definitely are in that main room for a while. Like the first couple, I remember when the people are coming through, like giving their, whatever,
It's-
giving their protection money or whatever.
On the
But
crime
yeah,
lord.
we don't see that much of that though.
Yeah. It's like that's what felt very stagey to me. Walk on, walk off.
That's
Yeah, I'm like,
true.
I
It's
guess the
true.
budget wasn't in it to build like a whole palace and like them like running through it and doing stuff through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see them like, oh, I remember what was it? They're like, oh, this is where they're spending all the special effects.
Yeah, Luke Skywalker's face.
Yeah, there you go. That deep faking. That
I mean, it was worth
YouTuber
it. Like
customer.
yeah, I mean, it was worth it. He was great. I will say this. I kind of think the voice was a little off for me, but it was the same. I know it was the same way in Mando season 2. Like it wasn't even off. It was just like, I don't know, if I could tell something wasn't right because like I think it was said like it was a bunch of recordings of Mark Hamill and like putting through like a computer basically, and like it's kind of spitting the lines out. Now I'm sure you can put an inflection, and I don't really know how all that works, but I just know that it wasn't. I could still tell like this isn't like I don't know. This wasn't Mark Hamill, and it wasn't just some voice actor either. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, it
But I
was.
don't know if that was really an issue with you, though.
I didn't make it an issue with me just because
Yeah.
I was just happy with what I got. I
Yeah,
figured
no, I was too.
I figured whatever they were doing, like it had to have been some sort of synthetic.
Yeah,
And I just rolled with it.
Yeah, I
It was
mean,
pretty cool for 100% fake.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh
well, that's
yeah,
pretty damn good for like something that he wasn't in it. He gets credit because he is the guy, but he was no involvement whatsoever in that.
Yeah. It's kind of
So
scary.
like, it is. I like how
It
they
is
could like
scary.
just deep fake your image and there's that software now they say for actors or voice actors. It's scary. It's like you could say like you say these paragraphs and then that legally gives them permission to steal your voice and synthesize your voice, and they could use it whatever they want and pay you anything. So it's like you have to be careful what you say because it's weird. It's like they could copy your voice. But I do get you. I think Luke, what was missing was like if you hear him talking or Mark Hamill as Luke, when he goes low, it's almost like a vibrato that happens at his lowest tones. It's like, that rumbling that you can't really, that was missing. So it was almost too smooth.
Yeah, maybe
So
that's what it was.
yeah, I could hear that in his voice, which he's always had the really coolest voice. He's done so many acting, being the Joker and
Oh
like
yeah,
his voice, he could do an awesome like Harrison Ford impression. So he could go really low. His normal voice is kind of high, but it's just kind of cool, his range. And he uses
yeah. I
that
think
range in
it's.
his emotions, and some of that was, I think, missing.
Oh yeah. Like definitely the emotional aspect, like just the performance aspect of it. Like yeah, it's exactly right. Like I said, it was like just kind of spit out of a computer or something, and like th- yeah, yeah.
But
Like
it
you said,
keeps getting better. Who knows what's happening? But it does
yeah,
bring
it
up
will.
a
No
problem for
doubt it will
me.
get better.
Because if you look like when he was obviously absent from the X-Wing, and like they didn't have the technology to make him fight yet. Like you could tell the technology isn't quite there to make him 100% like everything they want. And it kind of makes me wish they would have just recasted. Like, part of me
Yeah.
is like, well, just recast already. I know I love Mark Hamill. He was my crush. Oh my gosh, he was like my first celebrity crush ever until I realized how much older he was than me. I'm like, oh, that's not good. He's my parents' age. Like, no. But yeah, it's like just at a certain time, recasting should be fine. I just wish they kind of went that road, because in the future things, do you think they might use this as an opportunity to either buckle down on what happens in the sequels and Luke's, doing all that dumb stuff and almost killing Kylo? Or do you think this is an opportunity to like hit the reset button, not demolish what happened, but maybe create like a MCU alternative timeline of said information? I'm hoping for the latter, but interesting to hear what you guys say.
Yeah, I think it would be a cool road to go down, but I just think like I just feel like the fan base is already like divided enough kind of on certain things. Like I think to some degree I think mostly like a lot of fans are uniting over this show, like in the fact that it's kind of meh. But I don't know. I kind of think like it would just be better if they made it so like we could sympathize or empathize with that version of Luke a little bit more. Like maybe you can bring in Mara Jade or something, and then Mara gets killed or something. Like give us a little more justification. Like almost kind of do like the Clone Wars did for people who didn't like the prequels. Because like they're like, oh, I don't like the prequels, blah blah blah, and then they actually take the time to go back and watch the Clone Wars TV show, and I'm like, okay, this makes sense. I kind of get it now. And like, so maybe we can sort of do that thing with these shows, like, lay some more groundwork. Maybe in some cases, a lot of groundwork with like Palpatine, for example, or something. And the origins of Snoke or whatever, if you want to go that route.
Show him recruiting the millions of people on Exegol to do all his shit. The crews and like how they have agriculture like under the ground or something, how they grow their food, bringing materials around the space stuff.
You could have some guy handing out flyers for like Sith called "We literally take anyone and everyone."
I love it. Let's do
it. We have millions of ships we need to build. I don't know.
We need you. The strong muscle.
Yeah. Rosie the Riveter.
Yes, join the Sith. We got cookies. Join the dark side.
Oh, maybe. Well, guys, I hate to break good company, but it's about time I get to bed. It's about 10 o'clock here in Kentucky, so I have got to get going.
Oh, that's understandable. I know it's getting late. It's almost 11 here as well, so yeah, but it's been very good talking with all of you guys, and always good to get together.
Yes.
Always good to hear your thoughts. Is there nothing else on your mind, Pilgrim? Like, do you think we pretty much covered it all?
Man, I think we did a really good job covering this one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think so too.
And you had a pretty favorable, like a 7 or 6 out of 10, right?
Yeah. I mean, because it's Star Wars, I'm giving it a little bit of mercy, but at the same time, 6.5, 7. I think that's generous.
That's about where I'm at, because I feel like, yeah, this is more Star Wars, and it wasn't like horrible or anything. Like I could see what they were trying to do. Like it was all here. It was just presented in a kind of a poor way. So I'm on about a 6.
I'm about 5.5. I mean,
you're 5.5.
It's so odd, because I swear you have to do like a checklist and go through each thing and go positive, negative, positive, negative.
Yeah.
Because it's just so many things that just don't fit together that are just cool at the moment. So either I was cheering and jumping with joy, like this is the coolest thing I've ever seen, or it was the lowest low. This is crap. Why is this in here? So it's
Yeah.
bizarre to judge a Joe. I thought Bad Batch was kind of like that bipolar feel, but this
Yes,
is at
I
a
do too.
whole new level. I'm like, be pretty good. I'll settle for okay, like all the time. But
Mhm. Yeah.
so yeah, I'm hopeful for Kenobi.
Yeah.
I think if they don't do it right, there's gonna be riots. Like
Yes.
people are gonna. If anyone cancels Disney Plus, it'll be for that.
That's the
so
one show they've really got no choice but to do well on.
I hope so.
Yeah, and it continues on this wonderful year of Tatooine.
That's
See,
right.
this is where we should have stayed on Tatooine. And
Yes.
oh, I'm kind of sick of this planet. I'm so sick of Tatooine. But that's where Obi-Wan should be. So they could reuse all the sets, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
money.
guess we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Like once again, thanks so much. Always a good time, and have a nice night. And may the force be with you all.
Yes. Take
May the
care.
Force be with you.
Take care.
Bye.